Well, hello, Shawn Chikowski.
And Munni Visco.
Welcome. So what are we going to talk about, Mom?
Today, let's talk about stress.
Okay.
I think that's it's a broad topic, but I think everybody can relate to it. Might mean different things to different people, but I think we can talk a little bit about it to like what it is and what you can do to help have it not affect your life so negatively.
Excellent. So let me give you a statistic offhand, or there's, if you want to get a guess, I'll put it out there. But if you were to guess how many doctor visits are stress related, I don't know if I told you this already, but
Oh, I don't know, 50%.
right. 75 to 90% of doctor visits are stress
Wow.
related. So it is definitely a relevant topic. Whether it gets to the doctor's office or not, I think personally, I think stress does get a bad rap, right? Stress can be useful. But then what we see probably sometimes a lot where it comes up is where it starts to get probably not so good, not so healthy, right? People come in either burned out, compassion fatigue, or they notice something's off. But let's just give it the highlight that it is. We do need stress in our life. Think about it, if we sit around bored all the time, that's not good for our energy either. And I've even material, if somebody puts a test in there, right? Like, oh, we're going to give you this material. And then I probably don't pay attention as much. But if I know there's a test, and actually when they do test, sometimes I actually pick up and retain material. So it can be useful. But let's talk about chronic stress, where it shows up. I'll tell you from doing a lot with stress and working with clients, what I find amazing though, is when I ask people, how do you know you're stressed?
Yeah, I wonder what their answers are.
Well, usually, and people will tell me kind of like, oh, my heart starts racing, or, I feel it in my body, right? And truly, that's what it is. What I find amazing though is we sense stress in our body, but usually, what I ask people what stresses them out, they can give me a whole list of all these things outside them, right? Oh,
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was gonna say. Like when I ask people that, like generally to try to go in their body, they just go in their head. Well, I feel really tired. I feel overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, that's like what you're thinking. That's the meaning you're making out of this, but it's not what you're really feeling in your body. Like, what does it feel like in your body? A lot of people are out of touch with that. And
mhm.
I think, especially with chronic stress. So, like, if you're stressed in the moment, like, um, I'm driving in a snowstorm or, a car just ran a red light and then people might notice like, oh God, that moment was very stressful. And I knew my heart was racing and my face was getting flushed or I was gripping the steering wheel or whatever. They might be able to describe that moment. But I don't know with chronic stress, if it's like you're realizing that it's like, it's over time, it's building, it's building. And so it's like, you're not noticing that you're in this tight body and your heart, whatever's happening in your body with respect to the stress, it's like you sort of become used to it and you don't even realize it's happening. But yeah, it's having a negative effect on your body because we're not designed to be in the stress response for hours, days, weeks, months.
Truly. So I kind of
So
say it's like you're driving a car and you're not checking your gas tank, right? You are just chronically, I think that where I love to highlight is the importance of checking in, right? Those stops, right? So let me give you the definition of burnout. So burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged, repeated stress this is the key, with adequate, excuse me, coping and adaptive skills. Okay, so there's a big component right there because that's the highlight. I think that's where we want to show like there's the light right there. And then I also want to bring in, because I work with a lot of helping professionals, is compassion fatigue. And most of us think it's, we're a nurse or a doctor, but think about this, it could be taking care of others, right? It could be children, parents, elderly. So that one is taking on secondary stress or trauma. As a result of being a caregiver, okay, being focused on others without self-care.
Mhm.
I'm going to highlight that self-care as a coping skills, because how If we want to look at it in a way of managing stress, but just let's rewind. I think that's our mission here, is to show people early on just how important taking care of it. It's preventative. It's investments in your health.
Yeah.
So I guess
So, yeah, so I think it's important, we kind of identified what stress or chronic stress is. So
what
I
do we
don't
do
know if
with
the
it?
next place to go is like, how do you know if you're experiencing it? And then if you are, what can you do about it right now?
Okay. So there's some ways of working. I think that the awareness too. I think actually, how do you know you're stressed, right? I do blood pressure. I love it. So I'll go on site and I take people's blood pressure. They're so busy in their job, and I take their blood pressure and I get to know their bar. And next thing I know, bing, their blood pressure's way up. I'm like, they wouldn't even know that's going on, right? But I come in, I'm their self check, and I open up the conversation. What's going on? And a lot of times they don't even realize it. All right. Some they had new jobs, or they've transitioning, and they don't even know there's an undercurrency of stress going on. So I do think awareness is key, right? And I do think this is where part of the mindfulness is, when we work to be mindful and balance our day, right? So it's just like the car can't keep driving unless you stop for gas. And I also I tell the other little scenario I give is like a marathon runner, right? Even though they're running a marathon, they still have to stop and drink water. You do have to recover from stress
Yeah.
on a daily basis, preventative, and then kind of the big kahoo, when you realize you're really under a lot of stress. So
Yeah. So I think the important thing is to check in, right, with yourself and say, how am I feeling? What is going on in my life? Am I making time for self-care? What does my body feel like? I mean, am I tight? Do I feel relaxed? What thoughts are going through my head? Maybe those are some clues for people to pay attention to, that they may be experiencing stress or chronic stress.
I would like to say the word I use for that is developing a centering practice, finding grounding. When you know that where that is at your home base, it's like a tornado, right? Things are going to stir around you. But if you, when you recognize it's stirring around you, and you know that you can come back to the eye of the storm or your center, right? What's there? It's usually some calmness or clarity that you can manage through. Because, right, we can't take away stress. Nope.
Yeah.
It's part of life. And we're going to have different points, but really what is in control is being able to work on managing your energy and managing, that how you relate to that stress.
Yeah. And how you relate to it is huge. It makes all the difference, really. Because, and there have been studies on this, that people who have a better relationship with stress actually don't have the negative effects that stress has on your body. So if you understand, okay, stress is a part of life, like sometimes it helps me, like when I have a deadline at work, it keeps me motivated to keep going. But again, with the chronic stress, this isn't helping me. So like the practice, like you said, of centering, taking those moments to relax your body and be present, and also just change your relationship with it in terms of, it's a lot of times it's not what's happening outside of you that's stressful inherently or objectively. It's your interpretation of the event that could be causing stress for you. So if you can even change your perspective on it, and does this really have to be stressful, or am I making it stressful? What if I shift my perspective on it, or refocus on something else that might make that not as stressful as I thought it was.
Truly.
So
Let's put that in layman's terms, though. I get it. I want to say, like,
yeah,
because I remember, like, I came home. I'll just give an example, and it was something. I was a new job, and I was like, oh, what did I say? What did I do? And I was ruminating about it, stressing out. I mean, there was a little undertone. I was new. I was finding my way, and I believe my spouse said, okay, you can remember this in a year from now. He's like, you got to shed that, because you're not going to make the race. But it was a practice of having to let go. Like, and because what I was doing was ruining my weekend by staying in that energy of it. Like, it was really out of my control. There wasn't much I could do.
exactly.
And then I just had to do that self-care to be able to kind of burn some of that energy off. Yeah.
Yeah. But I
just
mean,
a
it could
tool.
be even just a really simple example that people could start to practice is just like, for example, traffic. When you're
Mhm.
in traffic, people are stressed, like people are cutting me off, and I get home and I'm like super stressed about it. But it's like, what if we didn't make that a stressful thing? Like, is traffic inherently stressful? It's really not. It's only how you interpret it. So if you are like, this is my drive home every day, it's going to take me an extra, 15 or 20 minutes than it would if there was no traffic. So this is the time I'm going to take to listen to a book on Audible or whatever, or call my mom, or just do some breathing exercises in the car. And if I say this is not stressful, then it's not going to feel stressful. So it's like your interpretation, as well as like your body, what you can do with your body in that moment can change that. And I know we have a lot more stressors that are feel a lot bigger than traffic, but that's a good starting point to me, I think, to start that practice. Say, if I can do this with traffic, like what's the next thing I could do it with, and kind of build on that. And if you kind of build, like you said, the skills and the tools, you will get used to it. And then when something, bigger happens, you'll kind of have that in your toolbox to use to not allow that to overcome you.
Okay, excellent. I kind of hear sort of like the reframing, right? Or even reality, right? It's acceptance. I'm in traffic. Getting mad about it really isn't going to, it's not going to change the ride. It's only going to make my ride worse. So if I somehow embrace this for what it is, accept it for what it is, not that I accept, or I shouldn't say that. I see it for what it is. It's not
Well,
that,
accepting doesn't mean condoning. Accepting doesn't mean I'm so glad I'm in traffic.
right. You can
It
still not
doesn't mean
like
that.
it,
It just
but,
means there's traffic.
and it is what it is.
Reality.
I do want to honor too, though, because I've seen like even stage of life, I've had some, I was there, but now I'm kind of getting out of it. But some of the younger families, they come to me, I'm like, whoo, your plate is full. And you don't even realize, they don't even realize how full it is. They come in, they tell me they're this, they got the job, they got the kids. And I truly believe there's stages of life that we are kind of taxed, but where I want to bring in though, this is where I think the self-care is huge. If you don't recover, you don't stop and get oil changes, in coaching, you have to make that a priority. And it's self-importance. And that's even to a checking in, like I'm too busy. But you know what? No, it can wait. Like literally something can wait 1 minute so I can catch my breath. And finding those recoveries, if you do, it is a balance. So we expend energy and we have to recover. If you're not recovering, you're kind of putting, that gas tank is really in the red zone.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it with that.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I think it's in the moment, as well as taking time outside of that for yourself to, relax or do something that you enjoy away from it, and let your body recuperate as well. Yeah.
And then just from a health coach perspective, though, if we don't do these proactively, I see the maladaptive ways of recovering. And that's what we want. We want to choose, instead of reacting, I want to relax with alcohol. I hear stress smoking or stress eating.
Yeah.
We can develop healthy habits if you practice the centering early on. And
Yeah.
it can be a foundational thing for investment for your long-term health too.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay.
Well, thank you.
I think it's like something to think about and start to practice.
Truly. And we're here to help, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for listening and signing out for now.
Okay. Bye.